Hey everyone, before we get into today's episode of the ConExpo Connect podcast, I would like to thank our new title sponsor for the show, John Deere Power Systems. Super happy and proud to have them part of the team, and we'll hear more about them later. Let's get into today's episode. Welcome back, everybody, to the ConExpo Connect podcast. I am your host, as always, Taylor White. With me here today, I have Amanda Kurk, who is the Vice President and Managing Partner at Kurk Inc., and she was featured in an article that we had here at ConExpo did a few years back that spoke about the priority of today's workforce to develop and being early adopters of new technology. Amanda, thanks for being on today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I didn't know that you were famous, and we already did a write-up about you.
I don't know if I call it famous, but I guess ConExpo famous, maybe.
Well, you're doing something right. And for everybody kind of at home, tell us a little bit about, what you do in your role at Kurk Inc. and kind of maybe how you got there.
Sure. So our company, my business partner is my dad, and together we manage somewhere between 35 and 45 people in the field, depending on the time of year. We do cast in place concrete, foundations, flat work, excavation, and a little bit of private site utilities, like sewer and water laterals. My day-to-day is managing most of the foundation crews and then doing some of the commercial estimating and kind of doing some of the items in the office, especially any of our technology. So our GPS equipment, our GPS modeling, and then any like project management software and that type of stuff in the office. I just looked this up, but now I don't remember. I think I bought into the company. It's almost been 10 years. So I actually went to school to be a structural engineer. And after graduation, the economy wasn't great. It was hard to get a job as a structural engineer with no experience. So I joined my dad and his business partner at that time, and it has kind of evolved over 10 years.
It's crazy how fast it feels. It's funny that you say that because I just have a LinkedIn message saying that it was my 10-year work anniversary, officially being at our family business as well too. And it's crazy how that time goes by so quick. Like it feels like it was not 10 years ago.
It doesn't feel like 10 years ago. And then like when you think about it, you're like, I can't believe we've done that in 10 years, growth, changing, just a lot of different stuff.
Yeah, it's, I share almost the same kind of story. And it's not until times like this when you talk about it and say it out loud that you realize kind of how far you've come from and how proud you should be, but we never take time to stop and smell the roses. It's just a constant push to the next thing, right? So what was the business like, I guess, when you first got involved?
So when I first started, we were a lot more residential construction. There was not an excavation division at all. We had some guys who were maybe versed in excavation, but they were just kind of doing our site prep, maybe like barn pads and that kind of stuff. And then we have kind of slowly but surely climbed, up the ranks of adding excavation services, including a, full fleet of excavators, dozers, and support equipment for them. We were about the same size though, but just different scope of work.
Wow. What was the idea for, I guess, like offering different services or more services?
Most of our excavation services and site utilities are in the residential industry. We do a little bit of smaller commercial in the excavation, but the biggest driver of that, adding that service, was our customers. They wanted to, shop with one contractor instead of their house line excavator, their concrete contractor, and then someone to backfill. We'll do it all. And that's still to this day what I would say most of we call it kind of like the turnkey foundation package. That's what most of our residential customers want. They want to deal with one entity.
I love that because we're from the opposite end of that, where they reach out to us to, clear the land, put the laneway in, dig the hole. And then the conversation always ends at, okay, so, and then when you guys do the foundation work and I'm like, oh no, we don't do concrete. It's like, oh, well, I guess who would you recommend? Or now we got to deal with somebody else. And I've always thought about that. Like, why don't we offer that service of doing the concrete? To me, it scares the crap out of me, to be honest with you, because once that stuff's hard, I don't want to have to O-ram it all if I mess it up. But you mentioned 35 to 40 people. And just when you were speaking, you said you're on some smaller residential jobs. And I'm sure with your concrete, maybe you're on, some larger commercial, but like it's very labor intensive concrete work.
Concrete is very labor intensive. And I would say if we're hovering around 40 employees, 35 of them are on the concrete side. It's kind of an in-house joke, but I would say the whole industry agrees. I mean, you have to keep feeding those concrete crews with younger people because it's just physically demanding. Your body can only do it. And there's great technology and, we have cranes and placement like conveyors and pumps, but it's still physically demanding to get ready to and pour concrete.
Yeah. I always say, we're from the heavy equipment side. And I always say the most two savage industries within our industries are asphalt and concrete guys and girls. Like that's, I mean, it's especially concrete in the wintertime here. I don't know. Whereabouts are you located?
So I'm in Southeast Wisconsin, kind of between Milwaukee and Chicago.
So you get snow, cold temperatures, and all that. And in your concrete, are you guys offering the forming? You do the forming, concrete forms as well?
Uh,
Yeah. So it's not just pouring concrete.
mhm.
That's insane. I mean, you go by a job site and it's minus 30, and they're just swinging hammers, beating these forms off, smashing them up. They're walking on between on the poured concrete. It's like, holy crap! Like that is some physically demanding work. What's it like trying to find people? And you mentioned younger people and rotating them in. Like I know the guys around here. Like that's hard to do. That's very hard to do. So what are you guys doing to maybe find those young people that are interested in doing it?
Yeah, it is tough. I think a lot of people maybe don't realize how physically demanding and sometimes challenging it is. Like you said, we're in the winter or, we're one of the first on site. So it's muddy and wet and it can be kind of a disaster. And one thing we've kind of transitioned to is when people come apply to us, we're very clear. This is not like a clean, rosy, I don't want to say fun because it's fun, but it's
It
not.
is. It is. In its own sick, twisted way.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And it's physically demanding. So, I mean, we start there by being very transparent that this is not for everybody. If you try it for a week and you don't like it, just come to us and say, "Hey, this isn't for me." But one of the big things we do we ask for referrals from our current employees and a lot of people come from referral, but we also are pretty involved in the different high schools in our area. In our area, there's kind of a bigger metropolitan school and then like smaller, more rural schools. So we try to just kind of stay involved with them and be top of mind for students who maybe don't know what they're going to do, but at least you can come work for us for a while, earn a really good wage and hopefully stay on with us. But, some of them go on to other types of trades or school.
Yeah, that's smart. I mean, definitely reach out to them. Like we offer we do a co-op thing here as well. So like with our local high school, kids that are interested in getting into the trades, we'll try to reach out and get to them and they come and work with us for a semester and kind of see how it is. But a lot of the stuff too, I find is like, investing in new technology. And I know that you were talking about as well, you got cranes and pumper trucks and all this cool stuff. So is there an element to you even, coming into the business and how it's kind of reshaped of like trying to invest in the new technology and new stuff in the business to keep that next generation kind of interested?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we kind of talk about new technology being GPS, which is really not that new, but bringing it down to a level where a subcontractor our size can afford it, that is new to us. I think we've been running GPS for like 4 or 5 years now, but that's a big one. And I think just talking, when we talk to the students, we talk about how now there's like GPS modeling and there's computer stuff and learning how to operate like a crane. I don't play video games, but apparently, if you do the joysticks, learning how to, that hand-eye coordination is huge when it comes to running some of that equipment. So we just try to get their interest, show them there's cool stuff that they can work their way up into and learn to run and be part of our company.
There is a correlation. You are right, 100%. I'm not a video game guy myself either, but I do know that like a lot of the younger guys and girls that are coming in, they kind of already have that kind of niche, even for operating, like running the sticks of a machine, and they kind of get the feel for it. But I think it's really important also what you said, especially like for us, it's kind of like, because I don't know the concrete business, like the trajectory for a heavy equipment business is like, I'm going to start as a laborer. And then hopefully when the machine's not running, somebody tells me to get in it and I get good on it. Then I'm an operator. Then I can go to a foreman. Then from there I can go to a super. Like there's kind of like this trajectory. How do you think you can show the people or the young people the path in concrete to be like, hey, this is where you're going to start. This is what it's truly going to be like. And this is where you can kind of go in the business.
Yep. So we have, when I go talk to the high schools, I actually have, it's kind of like a little, almost like a career map, I guess you could call it. It very similar to what you said. You start as a laborer and then you might, what we call kind of like the right hand man. So right below the foreman and then a foreman and a superintendent. And you can go walk through the steps of all those different careers. And then kind of on the side, there's layout technicians, like a survey crew, a pump operator or a screed operator. So we try to show different students that there is actually a path. You have to take initiative, but there is a path available. So our two superintendents have been with us for like 20 years and they started as laborers. And then we have some other individuals with us that, started as a laborer and maybe are now a foreman or an equipment operator. So we try to show those stories so that students can kind of see like, this is real. It can be a career if we choose for it to be.
It's got to be crazy though. Like, let's say I was applying to be a laborer, right? How would you describe what you do to me?
Oh gosh. We put most of our laborers who have no experience, we put them on a wall crew to start with. And usually I actually bring in I'll bring in our superintendent to do part of the interview or just to kind of walk them through that. This is what a day in the life looks like. It's showing up on time at 6 o'clock and it's working till the job's done. That's one of the big things I don't know if I would say it's like a challenge, but we have to describe to them, this isn't 7 to 3. We're pouring concrete. So it's kind of when it's done. And sometimes that's late, unfortunately. So we just kind of talk them through. I keep going back to, we don't shy away that it's physical and it's muddy, because the worst thing I want is you to get, have this rosy picture of it and you show up and then you don't show up the next day. Like I want you to know that is physically demanding and challenging before you're ready to either come on board with us or quit your job, whatever it might be. I think a lot of our brand new laborers, the 18 or 19-year-old laborers, to be honest, I think a lot of them come to us because they don't know what they want to do. And here's a job. I feel like that's just totally fair thing. Even if you spend a summer with us and you decide that's not what you want to do, still a win.
Yeah, 100%. Well, it gives them the taste of it, right? And they can either think, this is something I don't want to do ever again, or this is something that I do want to do again. And I can see the path and I can kind of excel from there. I always find it interesting when I talk to, people on the podcast as well too, like that have family businesses. So I want to ask you, like, what's it like working with your dad every day?
For the most part, it's good. We fill in the gaps, of each other. We think a lot alike. I suppose I was trained to think a certain way, over the last 10 years. We don't really talk about work after work. When we go, so we live close to each other too. I don't want to say never, but very rarely, because work is work. And that's a boundary we want to keep, that sometimes you have a crappy day and you're maybe mad at each other or you didn't communicate effectively and something happened, hit the fan or whatever have you, not to bring that to Christmas dinner, because I think, like I said, that boundary is really important to us.
What are some of the best lessons that you've learned over the past 10 years working with family?
Well, I think the boundary is a big one. And that's whether like your work-life boundary of not bringing it to the dinner table. But I also have a pretty hard 5 o'clock-ish stop time, because that's when I go home and I'm with my kids. And I think it's important to be present for them. And I understand not everybody can do that, but I think trying to do that's important. Something else I have learned is sometimes you have to take the time to see it through their perspective. And we think, this is the only perspective and we're right. But then when we take time and kind of learn more about it, we can now see maybe why they decided something that we thought was totally wrong. I sometimes joke about that. Sometimes you have to make your family members think that they had the idea. And that's how you convince them to do different new things. If you just start kind of feeding them a little micro doses and then eventually they accept it. And sometimes that's easier than coming in full force and saying, hey, we're changing this, this, and this. Somebody just did it to me as like the business we own, that's my dad's baby, right? He started that from scratch, and understanding and respecting that is kind of a big deal. And I never really thought of it that way until somebody actually mentioned it to me. And I was like, that makes sense. That's why sometimes I feel like our family members have a close hold on things because it's so, in tune to them. That's all they know.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, and I also think like another valid point is like sometimes I'll give my dad really like minute tasks to do, but I know that it's going to take him a long time to do, and it sounds mean, but it's like it gets to the point where like after a while, I've been in the business for 10 years now, and it's like I hate saying the word, like they're not needed as much, but like there's less and less, because ultimately that's how I feel fulfilled with my life, is knowing that my dad and mom can have more free time to go to their cabin. They have more free time to go on vacations. They can go and do stuff with them. Dad, you don't need to be here every day, and he's not now, which is good. So when he is there, what I found is like there's some tasks, like today we're actually at a conference, and I said I have to bounce out for a bunch of meetings today, Dad, but like your task today and tomorrow is just like mingle with the people, because it's a lot of older contractors and engineers. And like his role will never be replaced of being able to just be like, oh, hey, Ann from, engineering. What's going on? I haven't seen you in a long time. Like those little tasks are so important. But I found that really making, sure, like, hey, this is what you have to do. It kind of keeps them out of the hair, but also he's helping the business in the long run. Cause like you said, it's their baby, and it's hard for them to just kind of say, hey, whoa, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, totally true. We're not to the stage you and your dad are where he's not showing up every day. We're still in the show up every day. And that's okay. Like I'm not ready for them to not show up every day. You know,
Yeah, I know.
I could see the give them some tasks. They need to be needed.
Yeah, no, 100%. Cause I think of myself too. Like I'm a workaholic. I enjoy working all the time. And like feeling like my business doesn't need me anymore would be a really sad feeling.
Hmm.
One thing I wanted to touch on, I know you mentioned GPS. Where do you utilize GPS in concrete? And what was the decision like to bite the bullet to buy it? Because that's a big investment.
Okay, so we in concrete we don't really use GPS. We use a total station.
Okay.
There is definitely room for GPS in concrete. We don't use it because a lot of the concrete we're doing, we either need to be more accurate than GPS can give us, even today, even though it's really, really accurate, or I'm sure you've seen people use like a GPS curb machine. We can't use that for the most part because if we're doing curb work, the buildings are up and we're doing it 10 feet from the building. So you have such that challenge with GPS signal, which has gotten better, but it's still kind of in a finish sense, still challenging. So we use total station for everything on the concrete side. And then we use GPS on the excavation side. So we have, a base and a rover, and then we have an excavator that's actually outfitted with GPS. It doesn't have machine control, but I think if I remember when we purchased it, it can like be upgraded to machine control, but it's not something we need yet.
What kind of excavator? What kind of machinery do you like?
We have been purchasing Cabalco recently. We were a Link Belt family for a while, and our Cabalco dealer has really showed up and put some really nice pricing together. We're a mixed manufacturer family. We have Komatsu dozers, some Caterpillar excavators, Bobcat skid steers. So we're whatever fits the bill, the right price, and the right specs for us.
I like that. That's like you could be a politician with answers like that, you know? It's like, here, I'm gonna give you the answer, but I'm gonna say I love everybody and everything at the same time. I like that. That's good.
We like you all. Please give us good pricing and service.
Yeah, 100%. You mentioned a curb machine. So when I think concrete work, so you guys are doing slabs, foundations, and you're doing like commercial, like the islands in a parking lot, and then the curbing as well too. And you have a machine that like lays the curb and you drive it.
Oh my gosh, I spoke a little incorrectly because we don't actually have a machine. We hire somebody with a machine. A lot of our site concrete is all hand formed. It's just like smaller, maybe 500 feet of curb. If we get anything much more, we usually subcontract out to someone with a curb machine. And in our market, a lot of the bigger parking lot type stuff, the asphalt crew is actually curbing and doing the asphalt.
So how many guys are on your crew? Guys and girls are on your crew. Like when you have, 35 guys and you said you have two supers, like how many people are going out to a job normally to do concrete?
So for our concrete crews, we're running about 5 crews. We just added a fifth last year, and they're in the realm of 5 or 6 man crews. On big, certain larger pours, we might, take one crew down to 4 and one crew up to 8, just kind of shuffle them around depending on the needs. But the general is about, a 5 or 6 man crew and 5 concrete crews. So that's 2 flatwork crews. And like I said, last year we ran 3 foundation crews. And then the earthwork guys it's really just like 3 dedicated guys, and then truck drivers and, equipment delivery and that kind of supplemental people with them.
What was the reasoning? You just said, I always like, you were Wisconsin, right?
Yes.
The economy, like, are things good down there? Because if you're adding crews, like last year for us up here in Canada, it was kind of like a weird year. And especially right now, the economy is doing a lot of weird things because people are kind of, they're talking about tariffs. There's no tariffs. And especially Canada, being in Canada, like what's kind of the economy doing down there? But also, what was the reasoning for you to like, because it's a big investment to say, okay, we're going to add another crew.
Last year was a really, really strong year, at least in our business. And I think, to be honest, the market as a whole, we contracted an 8. So it's each building is 99 units and it's an 8 building development.
Woo.
Probably one of our, well, not one of the largest contract we've negotiated. And we contracted that, like, let's say, well, just a little over a year ago, because we started on site there in like May, and then work just kept coming. People, we put out all these, most of our work is cold bid work, not necessarily cold, but it's low bidder.
All tendered. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's relationships in there, but it still comes down to price. And so, we had bid a decent amount of work and they kept calling and saying, okay, we want to start, we want to start, we want to start. And it was just the amount of work. We couldn't do it with 2 crews. I mean, even if they could work twice as fast, we just couldn't do it with 2 crews. So we kind of remanned. We hired some people and then also remanned our current crews. So we took 3 strong team members who have been with us for a while, and then we paired 3 brand new laborers with them to kind of start this would-be 3rd foundation crew. Right now, we're only running, 2 flat work and 2 foundation. We haven't jumped into that 3rd foundation crew this year. I mean, everything says it's going to be a strong year. A lot of people talk about how they've closed their books for the year because they've negotiated all this work. To be honest, we've never had that. We get so much contracted to us, let's say 2 to 4 weeks before it happens. And I don't know if that's just the industry, we're in, the location we're in, or how, what that is. But so much of our work, I guess I would say, I don't want to say last minute, but it's not 6 months lead time. But people keep pulling. They're building houses. The multifamily market is still strong in Wisconsin. We're still seeing, I think, a lot of that funding trickle through. Maybe it's dried up, but it takes a couple years to actually stop that building. I mean, the developers are still borrowing money. So it seems like it's going to be a good year. We have a lot that's in the pipeline. It's just hasn't been signed yet.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I love hearing that. And yeah, I always laugh. Yeah, I don't laugh, but I always scratch my head at the people that say that, oh, we're booked up for the year. It's like, oh, well, good for you. That's fantastic. But we're the same as you. It's like, I mean, I could bid something today and start it next week because I'll just shuffle what the guys are doing next week and we still manage to get it done. Like that's why in the office before my old operations manager, I mean, it was always a struggle every year because he was a very scheduled guy. Like, okay, we have this plan. And then next week, the week after, we're going to do this job. And then I'd come in and be like, no. I just promised them we're doing here and this one's here and that one's coming here. So we're actually going to get it all done this week. And it's like, whoa, no, but that's the industry. And that's exactly what you said is it's so fast paced, changing, and you have to be able to run with that or else, I don't know. I just feel like you won't be along that much.
Yeah, I always say, like, we don't get a lot of notice because, I mean, just like you, we're such an early subcontractor on site that the municipality delaying permits for some reason because they just didn't get approved fast enough can like affect us. And then everybody gets their permits at the same time. I always say, like, the carpenter at least knows about when because there's going to be a foundation pour. We don't get a lot of notice. You could get notice today and start digging on a house tomorrow.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, it's a project coordinator or manager's nightmare being one of the first ones on site because yeah, like somebody could call tomorrow and just want us to go and do it. But that's interesting. I mean, that's crazy. Like Wisconsin is good, busy. That's awesome to hear, and I'm super pumped about that. What are you kind of looking forward to in the future for your business? Like, what trajectory are you guys headed? Where do you want to take the business yourself? I know that it's a team and your dad is with you, but I'm thinking like you're ahead.
I would like to get a little bit bigger, but still keep nice profit margins and find the right team. Right? I don't. If you're going to do $100 million worth of work and only make $1 million, it ain't worth the headache.
Yeah.
So I still want good profits. I think we just need to find some key team members to get there. And I'm sure as you can relate, growing is hard. I mean, not only does it cost money in infrastructure, to get there, but building the infrastructure in the office, the coordinators, the scheduling, all that is part of that. And that's probably what we lack a little bit of. We run pretty scrappy, which is why we keep nice profit margins.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah, those two go together.
Yeah. So it's kind of getting over that hurdle, but then finding the right person on your team or to bring onto your team. So I would like to get a little bigger, not majorly bigger, but I also feel like slow and steady is the way to go.
Yeah, I like that growth. I mean, I've seen it all in Ottawa here. Like when I like 6 years ago, we had four guys in our business. And now, like in the summer times, we'll run 20 to 23 guys. And it's crazy the types of jobs and size of jobs that we can go on now versus back then. But I mean, I've seen guys blow up overnight and it doesn't really work out unless they have an endless pit of money behind them because then you can grow really quick. But especially and you're seeing it as well too, if you're getting into excavation, those machines cost $500,000 for an excavator. Like, and then the fuel to go in them, then the maintenance plans to put them on, and then you need a dozer, and then now the dozer's 300 grand, and like it's just a lot of money. Overhead is a killer in construction, concrete. Overhead's a killer, right? And every time you add somebody to your office, it's like, oh, I'm gonna pay them 100 grand a year to do that. Well, it's $100,000, like in coming right off the profits, but hopefully that $100,000 person will make up for that and implement some stuff and being able to make you make more money. But yeah, it's a fine line growing, and we've never really perfected it either. But we just went through 4 years of serious heavy spending, buying machinery, buying a building, and we finally last year got to this point where it was like, wow, okay, like some stuff's paid off. Like we had a very profitable year and it was awesome and it was a great feeling. And then we went and just bought D5 bulldozer, a loader, and I'm going to buying a stacker today. Like it's like yeah, stuff frees up, but you always spend it. It's just kind of like what trajectory do you actually want to head on? I like the slow and steady as well too, but I also have like an obsession with spending money, but I also have a very healthy obsession with making it. So those two go together really well.
Yeah. Once you build this monster and then you have to feed it. It's a lot of work to feed.
A monster needs to be fed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And I think sometimes that's just what keeps me up at night. But yeah, it is insane. And it's exciting for you. I mean, like family business and be able to grow it. There's no better feeling really than that. Like, is your goal maybe one day to have the kids take on the business or be in the family business as well too?
I mean, I think that would be great. We'll see what they want to do. They're little now.
Oh, they have a choice?
Well, they don't want to learn to use a shovel. They just want to learn the equipment. And I'm like, hey, that's not how this works. You first have to learn to use a shovel and a tape measure, man. They're going to have a choice because my spouse actually, he develops land and does like the sewer and water in subdivisions. So they're going to have to like pick a lane. Which parent do you want to be with?
Yeah, be a friendly little competition.
They have a few years to decide. It's fine. They got a couple of years.
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh, it's exciting. It's nice. I mean, at the end of it, that's kind of what it's all about, right? You're doing it for family, and really, at the end of the day, that's all you got left. If everything went and disappeared tomorrow, too. So, like you said at the beginning, family is number one, and family comes first over everything.
Yep. We like that with our guys too. Go to your kids' recital or first day of school, whatever it is. I think since I've joined the company, that's something that has changed. And I think it's just changed as an industry too, right? that more family awareness and letting your employees have a life outside of work.
Oh yeah, I always tell my guys, if you guys can do whatever you want, but as long as it's after the hours of 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., I'm kidding.
You can take a half a day once in a while.
Yeah, you can take 10 minutes here and there and answer the phone, but your kids will be fine. They'll be there when you get home. I'm only kidding. I'm a dick to my guys, but it's all love. And yeah, no, it is. You're right. They got to do their stuff, and you got to do your stuff as well too. But sometimes you got to make sacrifices, I guess, for business. And I guess that's the biggest takeaway sometimes is that running a business does take you away from family as well.
Yep. And same with our guys. Sometimes you don't get to go. I mean, unfortunately, you do have to earn a paycheck probably too. So sometimes that means you show up late or you didn't make that one event.
Yeah, no, 100%. Are you coming to Con Expo in March, or are you going to try to make it there?
I'm trying to make it there. I think it should be a good one. Maybe even bigger than last time.
Yeah, I think it is going to be bigger than last time. I mean, the attendance was record breaking last time, and I think they're expecting more this year. But tickets do go on in August, so make sure to stay tuned for that. I really appreciate you cutting out time today to chat with me, Amanda, and hopefully everybody kind of got to understood you and your business and your dynamic and what you have going on. And I look forward to you growing your business and being even more profitable.
Even more profitable.
That's the way it goes, right?
Yeah, the more profits we make, the more positive impact we can make on our family, community.
Reinvest back in your business, 100%. All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I guess we'll hopefully see you at Con Expo.
That sounds good. We'll see you at Con Expo.
Awesome. Thank you for listening to the Con Expo Conic podcast, everybody. Take care.